You're listening to the He Shoots, He Draws podcast, the show about photography, design, creativity, and more, with your hosts Dave Clayton and Alan Hess.
Hello. Welcome back to the first episode of He Shoots, He Draws for 2023. It has been forever since Alan and myself have been able to sit down and have a proper chat and do an episode. In fact, we were just saying off air that even though I went to San Diego in October, November, we didn't get a chance to record anything because there were other things going on. But yeah, this is our first episode back, so we're going to be talking about something that happened 3 months ago. But
right.
Good to have you back, mate. It's good to be back podcasting.
I mean, we should mention we've actually spoken since then.
Oh yeah.
We just record it.
Yeah,
it's probably good for everyone involved.
Yeah, we never speak, and then we just leave like the mystery there. So when we come back, we've got loads to talk about. But no, we've been in touch. We've been talking. There's been lots of things going on between then and now. But yeah, we know last year there were a lot fewer episodes than we've probably done in a long time. But as we've mentioned previously, we've both of our work has picked up, and this is a labour of love. We're not sponsored. We don't have any money coming in, despite all the emails I get from people saying, "Hi, insert name here. We love your insert podcast name here, and we'd love to offer our services to do all the editing and everything." And every time I respond to them, and I go back and say, "Look, I really appreciate what you're doing, but He Shoots, He Draws is a labour of love. We do it all ourselves, record it, do all the marketing, graphics, edit the lot." We just do it because we want to do it. Now, if obviously somebody wants to sponsor us, I would not say no. But the beauty of us doing the way we do it means we can just drop an episode when we want. And because of our work schedule and distance and 8 hours apart, we can't record as often as some people do. And because it's we mostly want the pair of us or a guest. But occasionally it's me and a guest, Alan and a guest, and when it's
there's one other advantage to not actually being sponsored, and it's a thing that I've been thinking about recently, because we don't have to be beholden to anyone about a product we like or don't like.
Yeah,
it was always one of the things where someone wanted to send me something, and then I felt obligated to actually like it or not say anything bad about it, and I'd rather. I'm old, I'm crotchety, I have opinions, so I'd much rather buy something now and be like, yeah, this works really well, this doesn't work really well, I really like this, I really don't like this, as opposed to, here's some free things, say nice things about it.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree with that as I sit here drinking my cup of hot Yorkshire tea. That's Yorkshire tea. No, I mean, there's products. It's funny because I had this conversation the other day with someone who was asking about the podcast and about sponsorship and stuff. And I kind of said the same thing, that, look, there's products we both use. Like we've said previously, you love Photo Mechanic. It's a tool that you use all the time. We're not sponsored by them. It's just a product that we love. I know quite a few people used to have a sponsorship with an online, where you put all your accounts in to do like online account system. I use QuickBooks, love QuickBooks, not sponsored by QuickBooks, but if we come across a product that we love, like and use, then we'll just say, hey, here's a product we recommend because it's something that helps us out. Right. So, whether it's tablets, computers, software, you're right. I like the fact that we can just say we like something because we actually, pay for the product and believe in it.
Yeah.
So, but, if anyone wants to throw money at the podcast, you're more than welcome, because it helps buy new gear. So, I've just done speaking of which, I've just done my taxes because it's our although our tax year runs April to April, we have to pay the previous year. So I've just done 2021 to 2022, and I has to be paid by the end of this month. But I have the most amazing, wonderful accountant who's so helpful. I've used her for 3 years now, and she's like absolutely worth every penny. She does it all above board. She explains to me, what I should be putting through, what I can't, and everything. And yeah, she just makes the process very, very simple for me. So get your taxes done, people. End of January.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm a QuickBooks user, but I'm also a TurboTax.
Oh, okay.
So I've been using TurboTax for more than a decade to do my, wait, let me rephrase that. For more than a couple of decades now to do my own taxes. And a couple of years ago, we had a friend who had an accountant they recommended, and I did mine on TurboTax, and then I had them do it as well, and it came out to be about a $3 difference
Wow.
in return. So I was like, I'm just going to stick with what I know. But yeah, again, not sponsored.
Yeah.
Just like the product.
But speaking of which, this is, yeah, again, there's all these things because I've been listening to other podcasts and reading articles, and this was one of the things I spoke about on a podcast episode that's already been recorded that will be coming out, which will be the next episode after this, with a friend of ours called Radim, and we were talking about kind of mental health and running a business, and we were saying this post-pandemic, like during the pandemic and post-pandemic, there's so much traffic encouraging people to have a side hustle, to do these quick get rich quick schemes, like go onto Etsy and copy this and you'll make this much money, and I'm going to show you how to make $10,000 a month doing this, and I'm going to show you how to do this, and it's passive income and it's a side hustle, and you're going to make this money. And I think the danger is if you're not used to running something that makes you money, you're going to get kicked in the arse when it comes to tax time, because it's not all profit. It's you know, there are expenses. There are, you know, this podcast, we pay a hosting fee. We have software that we need to do the podcast. But if you're suddenly diving into this world of, I want to be on YouTube, get this, I want to go on TikTok, get that, and you've got this money coming in, like, you have to be a business person. You have to get advice now, because when you start making that on top of your salary, because what a lot of people don't realise is, if they're making, you know, I don't know, $25,000 a year in a job, £25,000 in a job, and they're making another 10 grand in passive income, you have to pay the tax on that extra 10,000. Right. It's not profit. It doesn't go into your pocket. You have to put at least like 25% of that to one side. Get an accountant, or, you know, go online, do something like QuickBooks or others are available, and they help you calculate it and tell you like what your liability is. So you put your money coming in and any expenses going out. But I hear so many horror stories of people who just think, oh no, it's free money coming in. And
no, I've been working for myself. You know, I don't get a paycheck from anyone. I invoice and I get paid. In American terms, I get 1099, which is the form they send you telling you how much money they sent you. Yeah. And no tax is ever taken out of it. So at the end of the year, I'm liable for all the taxes that are due. So I keep, very close attention on what I spend, what is a business expense, what is a personal expense, how much time I do with things. I've also been very lucky because some of the books that I've written in the past had a wide variety, let me go and take a lot of pictures of a lot of things that were really enjoyable, and then they were all used for actual work. A lot of people go, oh, well, it looks like work. For me, it was actually for work. And that was a big difference when the pandemic hit, because suddenly all that kind of dried up. And then I had to pay very close attention to what was going on. But one of the things that I did in college, which was probably a lot smarter looking back on it than I thought at the time, was 1 year I spent summer up in Oregon. I stayed in college and I took a bunch of summer classes, and I took them in the business department. So, oh, right. So I was like, oh, I need a couple of credits here and a couple of there, but I did business writing, and I did basic business financial things, just so that I'd have an idea of what it actually can save my ass a little bit later on in life, because one giant tax bill from the government can ruin your whole day. Oh God, yeah. Especially with so I don't know if it's different over there, but over here you kind of, well, for me, I've got two options. Because I've got a day job, I get a salary for that. Then I pay my tax and national insurance, and for my American friends, national insurance is what
goes towards us getting the NHS. So the NHS isn't free. We do contribute towards it, but that's all taken out before my employer puts what's left for me in my bank account. Then when I do teaching, writing, doing the events, anything I get paid for, I then put through as a sole trader. So I can be a sole trader or a limited company. Because it's only me and because it's not my main business and because it's a secondary source of income, then I run as a sole trader, and then all the money that I earn goes into my account, into a business account, and then any expenses that I need to help me do the extra things like buying equipment, software, computers, travel costs, all of that. I put my in column and my out column. I send that to my accountant, and then she looks at what I already earn. Because if I go over the threshold here for £50,000 a year, the amount of tax I pay increases from 50,000 upwards. So I pay a certain amount of tax up to 50,000, then I pay a little bit more for whatever's over the 50,000. So.
Right.
So like my day job isn't freelance. A lot of people don't know that I have a day job, and I've had a day job pretty much ever since I left school. I've never run my own business. I've never been full on freelance. The only 2 times in my life I've actually not been employed by a company was when both my daughters were born, and I took 6 and 9 months off respectively with them. So I've always had a day job and always done this stuff on the side. So it's always important. When I moved, I had to get a different accountant, but I've always used an online system. I think FreshBooks was the other one I used to use.
No, I remember that one.
Yeah, and that's the one that a lot of podcasters advertise. FreshBooks. I prefer QuickBooks because it's just a really simple system. But I keep on top of it. Everything I spend comes in, comes out, is that, and then my accountant sorts it out for me. But so if you have got a day job and you are doing this kind of, I saw on YouTube someone showed me how to do this print on demand thing, or go on Amazon and copy someone's PDF for a yearly planner and put a new cover on it and sell it as my own and get pure profit. Great, they go for it. Create designs for these online greeting card companies. Anything, whatever you do. Then if that's like part of your business, make sure that money coming in is accounted for and get financial help. Now, if it's something like, if you're selling stuff that you own on eBay, it might be story. Yeah, it's a different story. But check, because even with eBay, there is still a threshold as to don't quote me on this because I haven't looked into it. I just know about this, but I believe there is a threshold, and even on eBay, where when you hit a certain point, I don't know if it's money or transactions, but there is a fine line between, are you buying and selling? Are you buying goods here and selling them there and making a profit? That's kind of running a business. So if that's something,
that would be the definition of Amazon.
Okay. Well, on Amazon it's the printed stuff, and on eBay it's you can have an eBay shop, but I know people flip stuff. They go to places, buy it, flip it, make a profit. I still think there's somewhere on eBay where there's like a rule where it can be determined as a business. But if you're just selling your own crap around the house like I do, like some Star Trek figures or notebooks, it's slightly different.
There's been a lot of changes here in the tax code in the last couple of years, so it's really important that people do it. Because this is really the very sexy side of running a business. It's way more fun to sit here and do paperwork than it is to go out and photograph stuff. But I will say one thing, and probably the most important thing I ever did when I went freelance was to open up a separate bank account. That was my business bank account, so that it's tracked expenditures and going out and payments coming in going to the business account. Then at the end of the year, it's not commingled with shopping, everything else. It's groceries don't come out of the business account unless it's a business dinner or a business meeting, which happens.
I made the same mistake. I was buying, like, I'd go on Amazon and buy like a podcast microphone and a sweatshirt, and the thing is when I've got to download that invoice and put it in my account, I can't claim for the sweatshirt, but it's a bit of a pain to try putting both through. So now I've learned the lesson is if I'm going to buy 2 things off Amazon, it's Prime delivery anyway. So what I do is I order one thing and then I order the business thing on its own. And now what I've done is I've set up an Amazon business account, because you do get some preferential pricing, and it does have the VAT. Not that the VAT only matters as a limited company, but at least now I have all my business purchases through Amazon, through my Amazon business account. And I'm sorry, this like the podcast is like the most
it went a little sideways, but no, but it's important.
Pay your taxes, pay your nut. But no, I think it's good advice. It's starting the year off as you mean to go on. There's some really important things. So just little tips that we can share. As I would say, if you're savvy enough to set up business accounts for things, like I know a lot of people use PayPal. So set up a PayPal business account and have your in and out for your PayPal business, and keep it separate from your personal, which might be your eBay one, where you're just buying and selling stuff. So
it's important in the long run. It's very important in the long run. I mean, you run a business that's profitable, but you also want to be able to show where you spent money and where you took in money. And it's it also helps future planning and what you're going to do. I mean, I needed to expand some storage at the house, and I realized that it would be better to do that in 2023 tax year than 2022. So I didn't do it in December of last year. I put it off until January of this year, because it just made sense, because I knew where I was being at the end of last year with what I'd already brought in and what I'd spent. And while it was much better than 2021 and 2020, it still wasn't to the pre-COVID levels of the work thing. So it was easier for me to go, well, I'd rather have that expenditure go through in 2023 calendar year. So, and on that note, I have a new Synology extension unit in my office that's buzzing behind me, adding another 32 terabytes of data to my storage system. So if you're hearing a little hum in the background this time, that's Synology doing its work. And
well, that's the thing. It's the cost of, even for the photographers listening, things like backing up Synology systems, camera equipment. One of the things I had to do was look at my monthly subscriptions for my business, for what I do. So I had sites where I'm paying for training, because I need to learn to be better, to be able to earn more. I had software subscriptions. I had resources that I'd bought, fonts and graphics and things that I'd needed for jobs. Hosting. So I had hosting for the podcast, for my website, running costs for Simplecast, for where we host the website, events I'd been to, like when I updated my MacBook Pro, my iPhone, even business apps for my iPhone. Where there are things that I might have to pay for to help run my business, VPNs, things that when I'm traveling and I need security, there's all these little things. Even if you've got like a WordPress website and you're paying for Jetpack and Askimet or Askimet, I don't know how it's pronounced, but the thing where it says how many chimneys can you see or how many traffic lights can you see. Backblaze I've got that backs up all my computers. So there's all these things that, but that are running costs for me to be able to be a graphic designer, but they're all things I have in the background that I need, and make sure I can. A lot of things now, because they're subscription, which I know a lot of people don't like subscriptions, but the reason I like them is I can keep on top of my monthly budget, and I know exactly what I'm spending on my business each month, and then that enables me to go, okay, the first £100 every month, what I earn, pays for the software subscriptions, everything I need to be able to run a business. Then everything after that is profit. So, and then from that profit, every month I've come in, I know 25% of that is put aside. That's my tax wallop, and what's left is for me to use as and when. But I just keep a little folder on my desktop with subfolders, and every month when the email comes in and I get an invoice for whatever, I save it as you can just go, if you're on Mac and you've got mail, you can just go File, Export as PDF. So if they haven't attached it, you can just export the email copy as a PDF, put it in the little folder, save it for a year. When you come to tax time, if you use something like QuickBooks, when you go to the transaction, you just literally click and drag that PDF onto the transaction and it saves it as a receipt. And then when your accountant looks at it, you've got all your transactions in there, nothing you've forgotten, right. All your receipts are there. So I know it's a very, very boring subject, but
we'll get okay. So let's
that's enough of that. We've told you how to run your business. Let's just rewind. So last year we went to Adobe Max. It was the first in-person Adobe Max for a couple of years, for 2 years, and it was a much smaller scale. It's been anything from 12,000 to 1 million, depending on who you talk to.
Right, or what day it is.
But it was capped at around 6,000 to 7,000 people this year. They ran it hybrid, which I think was a good idea. I think it was one thing that the pandemic helped event spaces, that you can run hybrid, and online is useful because you reach a bigger audience worldwide. But for us, it's a chance for me to go and see Alan because it's on the West Coast. It's in LA. We get to hang out. We get to be a teaching assistant. Or this year,
you presented with Russell Brown this year, which was
my first teaching in person at Max. I'd done the 2 years online, but this is my first stood up in front of people teaching at Max, doing Illustrator for Russell Preston Brown's pre-con, which was a huge honour, and it was great fun. It was nice to be there, and I think we both sort of said the thing we noticed the most about the capped audience is we saw more of the same people over the course of the 3 days. When it's 17,000 people, you can actually not see someone who's there for the whole week. Whereas because it was less people and they were getting around, I saw a lot of people I wanted to see 3, 4, 5, 6 times, got to hang out with them in the evenings, saw them at the bash. It was a lot more relaxed, but it had the energy of a 12,000 audience. I think it was still... there was still a lot of traffic there. I don't know what you found.
We had very different experiences because you were working. I was not. So not only did Dave present in Russell Brown's and I didn't see you present because that was the day that I was actually TAing a different pre-con with Mark Heaps. But after that was all done and Max actually officially kicked off and the pre-cons are over, you spent quite a bit of time at the Aaron Draplin DDC booth on the expo floor or whatever they call it there.
I think the first day we started. I'm trying to think. It was something like we started. It was like a 12-hour day.
Yeah, you went to I know you went to the keynote and you came back from that and were basically you got slammed in that booth, and I think we dragged you out there at 9 o'clock at night. You guys just looked like you'd been run over. It was kind of interesting for me because I kept walking by like every couple hours. I'd go check to see if Dave needed water because they had a line at that booth the first day. That was I'm like, this can't last, and of course it did. For the next 2 days, it was pretty similar.
Incredible. I mean, the good thing was thank you for coming by and throwing peanuts and snacks and drink at me, because the first day I worked on the booth, there was food in the evening, but we stayed open for when they did the exhibitor thing, and all I ate that day was 2 granola bars and drank water and I had 1 coffee. Because in the evening I'd got pushed through that I completely had no appetite, so it wasn't even like I was ravenous at the end of the day and wanted a meal. I was just like been on my feet, and I mean, it was great fun, don't get me wrong. I mean, working on Aaron's booth, like you said, the queue is constant. The fact that people are queuing for that long to buy merchandise, to buy posters and stickers and buttons, is a testament to that. What Aaron's built for his career. Till in the end on day 3, we were like selling the sample posters off the wall that had damage, and I mean, I would put on my proper salesman. I was selling everything, the bulldog clips.
Everything must go. The more you sell, the less you have to pack up and put back in the truck or the van.
But it was good because I got to see and meet a lot of people from being on that booth, where probably more so than had I been walking around, because I obviously hear the English accent if there's anyone from England. And then while people are in the queue, like Aaron's being Aaron at the very end of the queue when people have paid, doing the signing and the photographs, the selfies. Lee, his partner, who's an amazing woman, she's taking all the payment and taking some of the orders, and I'm just like basically processing sales and upselling and getting everything. But while people are waiting, I got to have conversations with them, like, where do you work, what do you do, what's your speciality, and made some really good contacts. I mean, there are a few people from the UK, but spoke to lots of young designers, older designers. It was funny because there was a young girl for the keynote. I wish I could remember her name because I want to give her a shout out. There was a young girl, and me and Dan, a really cool artist called Dan Mumford, who's a really good friend. And Dan's work always seems to be included in the keynote video for Adobe Max. So me and Dan went and sat together in the keynote, and this young girl came and sat down. And I think she was only like 20, 21. She'd just left college. She'd just got her first job. And we just got chatting while we were waiting. And I introduced her to Dan. And like, this is my friend Dan. He's from England as well. And we tend to only meet at Adobe Max. What do you do? And she said, I've just started this new job and I'm just learning. I've got to learn InDesign and I don't really know where to start with it. And I said, well, allow me to introduce myself. I'm the author of a book called How Do I Do That in InDesign? So I told her to come by Draplin's booth, and I'd taken some books out with me. And it was nice to see it on sale in the Max bookstore as well.
Yeah.
And I signed a copy, and she came over and I gave it to her, and I bought 3 more copies. And as I was chatting to people, it was like, if they were learning InDesign, I gave them a book. But it was funny because we sat there, the video comes on, it's all like the Adobe, woo, 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 all the cool stuff coming up. And then Dan Mumford just appears on screen, and she just looks over and is like, is that you? And Dan being Dan just kind of goes, yeah. But it's those little moments that I love about Max, is you just meet these cool people and you get chatting and you find out what they do. And every once in a while you kind of strike gold because you both have something in common, or you're from the same place, or you have mutual friends. And that was the cool thing about being on Aaron's booth, was the amount of traffic I got through just conversing and making acquaintances.
You didn't move, so everyone came and saw you.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, was pushed way out of my comfort zone, because usually if these things, I'll just hang out behind Dave. It's like no big deal. But I actually sat down and spoke to a lot of people during meals, because they had it really nicely set up outside at tables, and I met a lot of interesting people. And the really cool part was, it was a lot of the first or second time they'd ever been to Max.
Oh wow.
Which was like, I was expecting to, oh no, I've been here 800 times, and I've been here since the beginning, and most of the people were like, this is my first or second Max. I've done it on I did it online once, and now I came in person. I couldn't wait to do it actually in person. I wanted to tell people I'd seen online. I've been going to all these classes, and so that was really it's energizing. It reminded me a little of a conversation I had with Teresa Jackson many years ago, before she ever went to the first Photoshop World she went to. And she goes, why should I go? And I said, because it's inspiring. It's just, it's not about like the knowledge. It's more about like seeing other people be creative. And that's kind of the same feeling I had. So it's always fun to come home from Max and like be motivated to sit there and play with the new toys and to do the new stuff. Or in my case, to really just tell my wife everything that Lisa Carney did about movie posters, and is ending with, you should have been there, kind of thing. by the way, that was still one of my favorite presentations I got to see. I got to listen to Lisa talk about not movie
Movie
posters
posters, yeah.
in Russell Brown's thing and the colors and behind it and the cycle. And it was just mind blowing because,
Oh, it's just the
you know,
science behind it.
yeah,
Like she's so switched on and points out things you don't ever realise. And I'm lucky enough to know a couple of movie poster designers. One we've had, Paul Shipper, we've had on the
yeah,
podcast. But the way she comes at it and teaches you things like why this works over that, why this should be here and not that, the way
that was just
the
brilliant.
words and names and text and styles, it was just, you just sat there with like your mouth open because
Yeah.
it was just solid gold knowledge all the way through. Also, Lisa Knoll, who's John and Thomas Knoll's daughter. Was it John? Not John and Thomas Knoll's daughter because they're brothers.
Yeah,
It was I think it was John's daughter. Lisa is also in the movie business. So she did a really good presentation, and I wish I could find the video that she played at the start. But it was a kind of a spoof of what every single movie trailer is like. So Lisa covered the movie poster, and then Lisa Knoll then covered the editing side of the trailers of what supports the poster and how they have to go hand in hand, and that was really fascinating because I'm like a fan of films and a fan of movie making, and just seeing the things that go into just making a short 2 or 3 minute video was so clever.
Yeah, again, I mean, that was Max was a blast, and the weird part is probably the highlight might have been dinner the first night.
Yeah.
Just finally getting to sit back with. I mean, there was a group of, oh man, I can't even think of how many people were there. Lisa was there, Aaron Nance was there,
Yeah, Christy
Mark
Shirk.
Heaps was there, Christy Shirk was there,
Jesus came.
Jesus came,
Was Dennis there?
yeah, Dennis was there for a little while.
Deke McClellan.
Cross was there with his wife for a little
Yeah.
while. I mean, it was a really fun, like sitting down and just like, oh my god, all these people I haven't seen in person for so long.
And the onion rings.
The highlight.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
but no, it was like that was the thing. You have those little impromptu dinner gatherings and sit down and catch up with people. And for me, I mean, for both of us, we only see them at events. Most of them are on your side of the pond, but for me, like that's one of the big things about coming to these is, apart from being in Russell's class and being a TA for one InDesign class, I didn't go to any classes. For me, the whole thing of being at Max was the fact that I got a totally different experience this year in that I did the Aaron thing. I'll be honest with you, I'd do it again if I was back next year. Date to be confirmed, but I would imagine October, November. I would imagine LA again. Definitely, like, it's the start of the year now. Start putting some of that money aside, and honestly, it's the best investment. I know it's not the cheapest ticket for an event, and I know it's LA and you've got to get somewhere to stay, but if you can go with a friend, share accommodation, get yourself a ticket, go to an event like Max and just immerse yourself, go to as many sessions as you can, go to all the events, sit down, meet people, go and speak to all the vendors. It goes quick, but like you said, you come away so invigorated, and even if one tiny germ of an idea gets you off your ass to do something different, it's worth it, because most of the time it's either to be creative that'll end up making you money, or just to make you a better person. You might get a new job somewhere because you've got a new skill. But I come away buzzing, absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, I did too. And I had a lot of other stuff going on during that month as well.
Yeah.
So, but it was a really good event. I hope they keep the hybrid thing going, because I know there's people who just can't afford to go, and if it's not quite the same thing as sitting and watching a video on your screen in your empty office, while everyone is out there. But it's there's so much information. I mean, there's even using Lightroom every day. or most days. Some stuff still pops up, and I sat in class that Brian O'Neill Hughes was teaching at the time, and like there was one little tweak, and I was like, I've never used that slider for that, and just never thought. And I'm suddenly like making a little note, goes in my phone. Same thing with Ben Wilmore. Ben's a advanced class, but I sat in one of those, again on Lightroom, and there was a thing on color that was just like I had never thought of it in the way that he was talking about color correcting, and it changed like one little tweak. I'm like, I can just save myself like 7 seconds per image by setting this up. Doesn't sound like a lot, but
it is a lot over a year.
I just worked out the other day that for the sports arena here, I've now reached the 750,000 image mark. Wow. in my so 760 something thousand images for one client over the last 12 years. So so you're saving a couple of seconds per, it actually adds up to a good chunk of time.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of numbers, so that we don't forget this, so this episode is, crikey, I can't even remember what number we're on now. I need to just check on the app. So let's go into He Shoots, He Draws. Let's come down here. So this episode is going to be episode 177. Since we started way back in 2018, February 2018. So we're coming up to our 4-year anniversary, wow. Which coincides. This is like, it's one of those bittersweet moments because the first episode dropped the week my dad died.
Right.
And it was just like that weird timing that the anniversary of the podcast also ties in with the anniversary of reminding me, we lost my dad. But it's also lovely as well because I went back and listened to it and I did a little dedication for him in that episode. But it's nice that it's kind of connected to Dad because my dad was an entertainer, and I think he would have thrived with podcasts if he had been 33 and not 83,
right?
Because he absolutely loved it. But yeah, this episode. If people actually listen to it after they've got past the tax information at the start, we will roll over 300,000 downloads in 4 years, which is, if you want to do the maths on it,
I can't do math. That's why I'm a photographer. I don't do.
We're not up there with 300,000 divided by, what did I say, 177. I mean that. Even over 4 years with the pandemic and a drop in listeners and a million more podcasts from famous people interviewing other famous people, that's still just short of 1,700 downloads per episode on average, which for us is
great.
It's incredible. I mean, I've said it, less than 177 times, but we really do appreciate the fact that people listen and tune in and give us some of your time when there are such good podcasts out there. There's a good selection now. The fact that you come back and listen and people still connect with us on social media, and like Kirsty, I want to pronounce her name right. I think it's Kirsty Hep. Is it Kirsty Hepwood? Hang on, because I'm rubbish at remembering names, but I'm good with faces. Kirsty. I should have done this beforehand. I'm in the wrong account, that's why. But I want to give her a shout out because she's always promoting the podcast. She always comments, joins in. So I'm going to give her a proper shout out. So I'm going to get her name right and then get you to follow her. Kirsty Hepworth. That's it.
Oh, so yeah.
At Kirsty Hepworth number 4. At Kirsty Hepworth 4. Kirsty, thank you. Because you're always so kind and you always share. And if anyone ever asks what your favourite podcast is, you always include us. And it's really appreciated. And I know there's lots of people out there that do listen. And when I will try and write names down. But yeah, it's things like that. Just that one message every once in a while that and Dickie Pelham as well. He always comments and listens. And I know that I've got lots of friends who, even the guy I work with at where my day job is, Stuart. I know he listens to the podcast. It really means a lot that someone not only listens to it but comments. And I've said, you getting on average anywhere between 800 to 1,600 downloads. Just that one message is like worth 1,000 people. So yeah, listening worldwide wherever you are. If you do get the chance and you're on Twitter or Instagram or anywhere, if you could do us a favour, if you got this far, can you just tag it? Like, can you just do at he shoots he draws and just tell us where in the world you are? Just one word, just put your location, because we kind of assume only our friends listen, so therefore we know who they are. But we forget that even now there could be someone listening to the podcast for the first time ever, thinking, "What are these two idiots talking about?" All they've done is admin and talk about what a great time they have elsewhere. But yeah, if you're listening to, if you've only listened to a couple, go back. We've got a ton of really cool episodes, loads better than this one. But
well, I mean, usually when there's guests, and I mean, we'll have guests coming up soon.
Yeah, we do have good guests, and we're trying to. We have said on previous episodes, but what we're trying to do this year is we've got a great back catalogue of guests that quite often, if we reference someone, they've been a guest, and we had people like Austin Kleon, Chase Jarvis, Scott Kelby, Joe McNally, just a ton of great people in the industry that we've been fortunate enough to meet, that we've been lucky enough to have as guests. But this year we kind of wanted to go into talking about a subject. So some of the guests we'll have on, we won't be talking about their life story. We'll be talking about mobile photography or drone photography or portrait or running an event, even running your own business, creative business. I've got someone coming up soon that she's in Wales in England, and I've started following her on TikTok, and I love the way she runs her print business, but it's the content she creates to get you interested in her business. And she shows like warts and all, the cock-ups, the successes, and it's people like that I want to talk to, because it's not just about people at the top of their game. It's people who are just working hard and being creative and providing a service, and hopefully spread a bit of information, a bit of help. Because
there's only a couple of reasons to do this. One has always been inspiration, which is when you're talking to everyone. I mean, honestly, when you're talking to Joe McNally, who I'm lucky enough to have actually seen him work on an actual real life shoot. I would say assisting him, but
we both assisted him.
Yeah, but my assistant was to hold a piece of material and throw it in the fling a piece of material in the air so it looked like it was floating. So, but it's inspiration, because as much as I love taking pictures, I'm never going to be or reach Joe's ability to see light in his head the way he does, because he's one of those people. Like, I'm never going to be able to ride a bike like Armstrong. It's just not going to happen. Certain people are just built differently. I used to swim. I'm never going to be anywhere close to Michael Phelps. It's great to have that as a motivation, but there's other people, I think, who can pass on actual pieces of information about running a company or approaching a subject, or you can take parts of it and run with it. And I'm looking more towards that going in the future, finding people who just have something that's not just inspirational, but more like, here's real useful knowledge. Now I feel like I'm like Joe doesn't have useful knowledge, which is completely untrue. It's just
I can't believe you just said that about Joe McNally, Alan Hess of San Diego.
It's all right.
I'm just typing.
Friend.
Just send an email to Joe now. No, but you're right. I know that a lot of people in your side of the industry that have had incredible success stories from what they were to what they're doing now and how they got there is just as interesting. And I think did you know someone who used to be a dancer that's now a photographer? And
oh yeah, Jennifer.
it's it's the way
she
people
went.
transition.
Okay, speaking of Joe, I met her because she was modeling for Joe, and then I had her model for my Nikon Speedlight book, and then I did a bunch of stuff because she's an aerialist, and it was fascinating. And from there, she really wanted to take photographs. She's worked with me in Comic-Con for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And now she's photographing dance, which is something she knows really well, and is traveling around the country doing it. And so we'll get her on the show, because that little progress is unbelievable, to go from, oh, I want to do this, to standing on a stage doing it. It's
yeah. And photography
really
is one of those, it's one of those businesses where from the outside, people looking in think it's the easiest job and the easiest money you can make. And probably wedding photography gets the worst rap, probably second to concert photography, where
wedding photography is really tough. People who think you have a camera and photograph a wedding are going to
yeah. So now, because cameras are more affordable, they're much better. I know, like, Glim was doing a video about a Sony camera that he's got that's got AI built into the chip, so that the camera understands the difference between different animals and people, and how to work out like how someone's standing. It automatically knows it. And then we've got this whole AI thing coming in.
Oh yeah.
I mean, AI can produce a better photograph than I can take. And it'll be interesting to see how that will transpire over the years, where you've got what did I see yesterday? I'm not going to name them because they don't sponsor the podcast, but I keep seeing an advert for this piece of software, and basically what it does, it is AI, and it monitors the way you edit in Lightroom, and it then starts to behave like it's learned behavior. So then when you bring your photographs into Lightroom, it's studied all the edits you do and all the kinds of photography. So like, it knows the difference between concert photography versus landscape versus portrait, and it learns how you edit. And then when you like press the button, it will go and edit your photos for you based on a collective of all the edits you've ever done before, and we'll just edit your photos for you. Now, that's useful because it's time saving. If it's going to do the way,
but I'm now very curious.
I'll send you the link, because I'm going to investigate it and see who's behind it and where it's coming from, because they might be a good guest to have on. But I know it begins with I. So if you want to go and Google it, go and have a look, because I can't actually remember the whole name. It does begin with I.
I mean, the AI stuff has become, it's news stories. There's lawsuits now. There's, people are starting to figure out that this might not be the golden fleece that they thought it was going to be. That there are issues with it. But yeah, we again at Max, I sat in on a talk about AI, and it was both eye-opening, insanely frightening, and a little scary, because afterwards I went up and we just kind of plugged in a couple of key phrases, and the next thing I know is that it produced a concert photo of a non-existent guitar player playing in a non-existent venue with red lighting. And it was, man, if you were like doing an album for something, it would have been just fine to put text over it, and no one ever would have known. And it was
and even the
I think I'm out of a job yet, because I'm still capturing news things that are happening, in real life, like actual events. So that's still.
I don't think it's going to put anyone out of a job yet, unless you let it. I think it's one of those, or my opinion is, from what I've seen of it so far, it's very clever. I do think there's a weird copyright issue, because if it's taking other people's art to remake art, there's going to come a point where, like, already there's people have said, oh, sometimes you get a freaky result because it's got a watermark in it. Well, if
Right.
it's taking images with watermarks, there's a reason there's a watermark on it. So the fact that we know that it is pulling actual imagery data from other people's images and then making a whole new thing because that's happening, is there's a whole copyright issue anyway. So who owns it? Is it the company that made it? Do you own it because it was your description? Because it was a very, if you put Superman flying a glider over Paris juggling puppies, I mean, no one else is going to come up with that, and
Right.
it's going to come up with a very specific image. Would you put that on an album cover or book cover? So I think, like anything that's new, it's everyone gets excited about it and thinks, oh, this is brilliant, I'd be able to do this now. And I think there is a guy that actually, because there's this other one called Chat GPI or
Yeah,
you can say
there's
like,
there's
right,
a non-visual one, there's the text one, and it's
he put in, writes a 20 paragraph story about a dog who's looking a dog with a magic bone or something like that, and this thing wrote a story in seconds.
yeah, and,
So
and
he
tutorials
took that,
and books
yeah,
and
he
other
took
things.
it
Yeah,
and he made a book. He
Yeah.
then went into the visual AI and gave it a series of commands that were lines of text from the story, and the AI then produced the images for the children's storybook, and he published it on Amazon. So he didn't write it and he didn't make the images for it, but he created a children's book and he's selling it. So it's like a really weird, lots of people will start doing it, but I think the bubble will burst quickly, because all of a sudden there'll be a gotcha. What it'll be,
Well,
I don't
I
know.
know
But
there's a couple of things brewing. I've been bookmarking stuff. I haven't been paying as much attention to things going on as I normally would. It was the beginning of the year, and I was just dealing with all the other stuff that's been going on. I kind of
yeah,
took most of December, well, so November, parts of November and December, I just basically took off.
yeah,
I needed personal time, so I a lot of things went on the back burner, which is why my January now looks like a crazy schedule. It's been had 4 clients yesterday, 2 this morning. I have a job tomorrow afternoon. I'm actually going to be photographing the King Tut exhibit that's moving around the country, so that should
oh
be
wow,
fun. This immersive King Tut exhibit. I got the shot list today. It's always like people in awe of stuff, but I'm looking forward to doing that. And it's been kind of a crazy couple of months. And before we wrap up some things, there's just a few things that were really interesting, and one of them is I photographed this. I don't know what to call it, a comedy show, a speech, a talk. A guy named Jonathan Van Ness, who's probably most famous for being on the Queer Eye for the Straight Guy TV show that was on
right,
Netflix, the second version. He's been hairstylist to a lot of very famous people, and I got hired by his tour to photograph the San Diego show, and it was just one of the. I went in thinking this is going to be a meet and greet and just kind of that thing. And it ended up being one of the most enjoyable evenings I've spent at an event in a long time. He was
oh wow,
absolutely, him and his whole staff, everyone was just fantastic. And it was one of those, like, you go in thinking, I went in with not the greatest attitude. I had to really kind of psych myself up. And then,
yeah,
after we had the first meeting on site for what was going to happen, it was really great. Everyone was fantastic. It was the most fun I've ever had at a meet and greet because he was so personable and everyone had a story, and he was taking his time. Everyone, it wasn't this rushed, get the photo and get out kind of
yeah.
thing. And so that was one of the more enjoyable things going on. And I hope to be able to talk more about one of those things coming up later. I can't talk about it
No,
yet because deal hasn't been done, but it'll be on the business side and licensing images and things like that. So I'm looking forward to more work like that. And like I just said, King Tut is will have already been done by the time this posts, but
Yeah.
and then it's been ice hockey's back and lacrosse is back, and we've got concerts coming up, and
You've had football in the stadium, haven't you? The soccer.
yeah, we did
San
indoor
Diego
soccer's,
Soccer's.
San Diego Soccer's. We did some indoor stuff. We have it's San Diego's really, it's interesting. We have a new outdoor stadium, Snapdragon Stadium, that was built, so the college football is playing there, but we're starting to get concerts in that outdoor arena as well. There's a new smaller indoor place coming up that is opening up. So it's
Sports
really kind of,
thriving.
yeah, it's thriving. And concerts and sports is and that's called The Sound. It'll be an interesting little venue. I think it's a 1,400 seat, something like that. A venue that's supposed to open next month. So it's busy. It's been good. And
Oh, I've just realised something. Speaking of sports, when we were at Max, we had travelled up from San Diego to LA, and the Padres had been playing the Dodgers.
I don't know, yeah, something like that. Baseball. They lost.
Yeah, in the World Series,
playoffs.
wasn't it?
It was a playoffs, I believe.
So who won the World Series in the end?
Don't know.
Do you know?
No, I don't.
Answers on a postcard, please, people. Because it was funny, because we travelled up from San Diego and there were people in our hotel trying to watch the game, and the Padres had won the night before and were beating them quite succinctly. And then I think they beat them. But yeah, so we start having a conversation with people in LA who we just gone, yeah, we've just come from San Diego, the team that battered you 2 nights running. So I don't actually know who won that, but yeah, I know you've got a really nice baseball stadium, because that's opposite the convention center.
Yeah, Houston. I think it was the Houston Astros.
But no, that was fun.
1,
I still
2,
need.
3. Yeah.
I need to come and. Well, I saw the ice hockey while I was with you.
Yep,
that was
we
good.
saw
The goals.
First night of girls hockey.
Yeah, I met Mickey Strand.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah, I couldn't believe you guys hadn't met in person. So we'll get Mickey on at some point.
Yeah. So that was good fun.
Yeah.
Trying to think this year, starting out. Yeah, I mean, say that the end of last year flew by after Max. This year's just been. I think I'm going back out to Kelby one soon, very soon. I'm doing an event called the Print Design Summit in February. That the guy called Dave Hopkins has put on. It's the first one, but it's all to help people who use Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign in a print capacity, whether it's photography, packaging, branding. It's going to be a really cool event. It's free. It's free to watch, a bit like Dave Cross's ones. It's free to watch while it's on. But then there's a couple of VIP packages that I will have a link for, because I'm only getting paid for this event through affiliate. Because Dave's trying to get it off the ground and get it running, that's how we're all doing it. So there'll be like a special print designers kit where people have put forward different things. So there's equipment, there's Pantone stuff, there's books, there's all sorts. So there's a couple of prices for a basic VIP kit and an advanced VIP kit, and then you can download all the lessons and resources separate as like a VIP pass. So that's middle of February.
And you'll put a link.
I'll put a link, yeah, on all the social media channels once I get the affiliate link through. But it's called the Print Design Summit. Then I'm hoping to go out to Kelby One to record what will be my 10th class, which is a nice round figure.
Yeah,
that could and should be around March time, and then in June. They've just dropped the agenda and the news. I'm going to be teaching at Creative Pro in Phoenix, Arizona.
Nice.
So that'll be fun, because it's the first time I would have done that event in person. And then in between that, there's some stuff going on in the background with some company that I'm working with, which I can't say too much at the moment, but we have talked about them previously. But yeah, there's been a lot of extra work going on with them, which has been really nice. Also related to that, I just want to give also another shout out to our friend Ian Sayers. I don't suppose he'll listen to this, but he should do because he's in hospital doing nothing else. Ian, I've known for years, but Ian had a triple heart attack 2.5 weeks ago. He didn't really realise it had happened. He had the first one, and then he had 2 smaller ones. But even the first one, he didn't even know was a heart attack. But he's in hospital. He's in fine spirits. We've been chatting all week. He has his heart double bypass operation on the 1st of February.
Yep.
So he's going to be on the show once he's recovered, because we're going to talk about a few things with him. And Ian's working for a company called Sense Labs, who make amazing tablets, and there's some really cool stuff coming with them over the next few weeks. So watch out for that. But best wishes to Ian, speedy recovery, and he's coming out. He says Ian version 2. Well, if anybody knows Ian, version 1 feels like an upgrade. So version 2, watch out. Yeah. But no, he's a lovely guy, absolute heart of gold. One of the loveliest friends I've known for a while. Hopefully he recovers. But
it slows him down just a tad.
Yeah,
he was
exactly.
Like the Energizer Bunny rabbit running around places.
Ian doesn't know slow down.
No.
Slow down to him is still faster than any of us go
I
when
saw
we're
him
fully
at Max,
busy.
I saw him at Max like 300 times. I was like, every time I turned around, I was like, that guy never stopped.
He has. He's got the energy of a Duracell factory.
Yeah.
But best wishes to Ian. But it looks like it's going to be a busy-ish year. Still waiting on a couple of other events. I'm hoping that Photoshop World will come back in person this year. It's one of the events that's kind of sat back and ridden the hype, the online side, but it's one of those events, just where we met. It's always a different group of people to meet, but I'll be interested to see if Photoshop World comes back this year, because that'd be nice to see. And also I want to give a mention to Kaylee Greer and Sam, because they're running their first event in Vegas in September called Shutterhound, and it's all about dog photography. Oh my god, I wish I was teaching at this thing, because
I wish I was going to this thing.
Yeah, the energy for this event. I did say to Kaylee and Sam, not for this year because I think they've kind of put their thing together, but I suggested, look, you've got people going to take photographs of animals and dogs and cats, but I think it'd be quite good to have a class where you can show them what they can do with their stuff, like how to do design, layout, social media posts, all these little things that take all these wonderful pictures, don't know what to do with them. Because I was just looking to basically be there, because I know this thing, if this thing's got the energy that Kaylee Greer's got, and Kaylee Greer's got more energy than Ian Sayers,
I know
this is going to be one of the best events of 2023. It's going to be so much fun. And honestly, I wish Kaylee and Sam all the best on this, because when they were over at the photography show the end of last year, we got Kaylee to be on the super stage. And I remember sitting with Sam sort of chatting about it, and they were running the idea, thinking, would they be able to do it? How would they do it? Were they sure of what it's going to be called and everything? So I'm so excited for them, because it really is going to be a blast of color and dog photography and energy. So
if you're into dog, I would say pet photography, but not really. She's a dog photographer. If you're into dog photography, this is something you should do. I mean, it's not even it's a no-brainer. And I've written pet photography books, and I've edited pet photography books, and I know pet photographers. And if this was going to be something that you were going to do, or you want to do, or even you think of starting a business or anything to do with dog photography, this is something you should seriously look into, or at least look at her book, which is, again, we talked about it on the show, a couple of was going to say a couple episodes ago, but it's now like a year ago because
I
I
know.
think it came out at the end of last year. Yeah, or end of 2022, 2021.
Oh yeah. So
Oh my God. All right.
I might actually get Kaylee and Sam on another again to
Yeah,
talk
we
about
should.
it a bit closer to the time, because I
Yeah.
think as it builds up and they've got the speaker schedule settled in and they've got a better idea of the plans. But yeah, we'll definitely have them on talking about it. So yeah, there's lots of cool things coming up in 2023. We've got some great episodes that we're planning to make great anyway. Coming out, we're gonna aim for at least one a month, so we get 12 out this year. But I would say I'd love to get out between 12 and 20 this year. So if you're going to stick with us and have a listen, there will be some content for you, and we promise not to talk about tax at the beginning of every single episode.
Well, right. Well, for the end, so you can, we'll be like, now is going to be the tax talk, and everyone can just
Yeah.
turn it off. But
Next episode, we're going to talk about the benefits of Microsoft Word and Excel, Microsoft Excel tips and tricks. But no, thanks for joining us for this episode. I hope everyone's well and had a good start to the new year. And if there's anything you want us to talk about, find us on social media. It's everything's He Shoots, He Draws. If you've got a burning question or a personal question or just anything, just give us a shout and we'll do our best to get back to you. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say good night and go and have a cup of tea.
Yeah, me too. No, I'm not gonna have a cup of tea. I'm gonna have lunch. All right. Until next time.
Yeah, until next time. See you soon. Bye bye.